Hey folks, so today we're going to be covering cinematic events. So you can see that I've got this little button here. This might be a bit jarring for some of you, but I then have this very intense cinematic that plays, and then these two objects kind of maintain permanence. I've got some other examples out here as well. And I've also got this one here. Yep. So, yeah, we're just going to be kind of exploring the basic tools of the cinematic editor. Obviously, it's getting a bit busy, this central scene, so I'll need to tidy it up a little bit. In fact, we should be okay as long as we don't push the buttons. Yeah, let's move these to the side a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, well, once I've tidied these away, real straightforwards. Whoa! Oh, I moved the floor. Yeah, I moved the floor. Yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a button. If you looked at the recent tutorial I released showing you the basics of Unreal, you'll kind of recognize this process that we're going to be going through. I'm going to create a button called button film because I'm running out of names for buttons. Double click in there. I've created a blueprint button. I'm going to add my two components. So it's going to be, as I said, you'll probably recognize this from before, a cube and a box collider. This is kind of like my bread and butter for creating inputs. We don't need that window anyway. So we've gone from here to the event graph. I'll maximize this to a full screen. Yeah, we're just going to create a real simple script. Drag a line off. And we are going to use the overlap event to trigger a state. Yeah, we want to kind of trigger some kind of animation to play. Problem is you're not going to be able to find that logic without us creating an entity to house it. So we've got this button now. What we're going to have to do is wait a little bit for us to create our cinematic element. So if we just go back to our main scene now, we can drag our button in. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new entity. Let me just get rid of these ones here. Yeah. So we're going to create a new entity. So if we go to animation, we go to level sequence, and I just call it film, and then click and drag that into the scene. What I tend to do is where the what's it called? The button that is going to trigger that cinematic event, or whatever entity is going to trigger that cinematic event, try to align that cinematic event with it, because as you can see with these and these, it can be quite jarring if you're not keeping track of what they're associated with. Yeah, you can lose track quite quickly. So yeah, we've created this level, this film sequence. You can, so it's just animation and then level sequence. We're just going to hop into it now. A quick thing, just to note from the offset, if you minimize this and then try and do open level sequence again, it'll stay minimized. So you have to open it from the minimized window, which is very annoying. And you can't put it in the tab either, so that's even more annoying. So yeah, have fun with that. We're going to do a real simple function in here. I'm just going to scale this down a bit so I can show you the screen and what's going on in the viewport simultaneously. let's try bob that in there. I think that should be okay. Yeah. So, yeah, what we need to do is we need to create some kind of entity to emerge. So let's do a cone. Scale that up, and I'm gonna kind of submerge it. Just need to make sure I get it in a place that I can distinguish. Okay, yeah, that's great. That might be too far away. Yeah, I'll just nudge it a little bit. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, so what we're going to do is we've got this reference to our cone, so it's cone 2. We're going to create a track. For any of you that aren't familiar with video editing software, the two main components of this is you've got the track listings, which is basically where each of the elements of your cinematic sequence are stored. So if this was like something in After Effects or Premiere, you'd have things like your audio, you'd have like special effects stored in here, you'd have video little segments that you wanted to kind of overlay on top of your existing footage. Yeah, you know, you can add all this stuff in here, and it'll kind of list, in the case of Unreal, all of the individual components of what changes you can make to that object. And then the other view is the timeline. So this is kind of like a timescale setup. Yeah, this is like the time scale of your event. You can adjust the scale of that from here. You know, so you know, you can adjust the time scale of how zoomed in you're looking at from here. You can adjust how far you want to view from that little spot here. So I'm going to nudge this up to like, I don't know what this scale is. I mean, it's a really irritating scale because I'm pretty sure it's not seconds. Yeah, I'm just going to nudge it up to 3. You've got your limits. So you can drag these little lines. Oh, whoops. You can drag these little green and red lines to kind of adjust where the animation ends and starts. And then you've got this kind of time scrubber where you can drag this across and it'll move across the sequence. Yeah, so we're going to create a very, very basic animation for our object. So we're going to do track. I'm going to select the object just to make it a little bit easier. So track, and you can see here there's a variety of things that we can access. The one that we're going to do is actor to sequencer. And you can see that we've got, because we selected the object, we've got it immediately accessible. Although you can go through and you can like check these individually. One thing to note when you're doing this demonstration or this this tutorial sequence, you can't use brushes, you know, the geometric brushes that we dealt with before, you know, you can kind of like subtract and add to each other. Those can't be animated, so just be careful to not accidentally choose those instead of static meshes, because you just won't be able to do anything with them and you'll get stuck. So yeah, I'm just going to add this cone, and you can see that this new section's been added here. So if I click the little drop down on here, you can see that from transform I get location, rotation, and scale. So I can click on this little drop down and now I get X and Y and Z. So we're just going to want to change the Z axis, but to do that we need to create keyframes. So keyframes is like an animation term where back in the day you would have a lead animator which would decide the most important frames in an animation. So like the major state changes, and those would be known as the keyframes. So the frames that are key to the animation. And then what you would have you'd have like a group of animators like like a larger group of animators that would go through and they'd edit what are known as the tweens, so the in-between animations. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. This kind of translates to the digital form here. So you define your keyframes, and then Unreal will basically, like with things like Flash, will extrapolate those frames from the two states that you define, or multiple states that you define. It can be a bit janky and temperamental at times, but in general, it's better than animating by hand, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, we're just going to create our first keyframe. The way you can do that is this little plus button here. Add a new key at the current time. Note that if you do push enter for this, it will create a keyframe from all these states. We just need it for one. So I'm going to move the time bar along. And you have, just to clarify, you have to do these in this order for it to count. So you move your timeline. You then move the object. And then you define the keyframe. And you can see that you've got that kind of trajectory line there now, indicating that there is movement that's occurred. So just to kind of reinforce that again, I just want to get that at the right alignment point. So you move it. You make your adjustment to whatever you are wanting to do, and then you click Add Keyframe. Yeah, and you can see here there's not much change to be seen. If I had another keyframe in, ooh, and then do that again, so you can see. Yeah, so we've got this nice little animation now. Something I also just want to show you real quick. I'm just going to delete these for the purpose of making this simpler to demonstrate. I'm also just going to show you the curve editor real quick. So the curve editor is its whole other thing. It's a really neat little tool. So this allows you to kind of make your animations a little bit more dynamic. So as its name suggests, you've got this curve which kind of shows you the changing between the two states in a less binary fashion. You've got like kind of a gradient and a curve that you can manipulate. So you can see here that as I adjust this, it affects by a certain point in the animation where the cone is reached. So if I really overemphasize it, if I come back to the start, you can see that it kind of overextends beyond where it's meant to reach. I think that's probably a little bit too far for my liking, but yeah, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so like in animation, this is kind of like in the realm of kind of squash and stretch, where you make an animation go beyond what its natural constraints would do for a little bit of extra emphasis. It happens a lot in things like anime, where they'll kind of the way that their bodies will like contort to pull off certain action moves and stuff like that. Or even in things like Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes is a great example of where they do this. Things like the what's it called, Wile E. Coyote, hanging in the air before dropping. It's a good example of that. So yeah, we've got our basic animation. Let's have that actually trigger now. So if we hop out of this, you can leave it in these tabs if you want, which is quite nice. We're going to come back to our button. If we've got the button selected, yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to edit our blueprint. we want to create a reference so we can access this. Unfortunately, we can't just click and drag in a reference to the cinematic event. What we need to do instead is create a variable. So I'm just going to create a variable in here. Because remember, we weren't able to access that play script before. So we're just going to call this film variable. Or let's call it film reference. Okay. So if I just minimum, nope. Nope, I'm pushing all the wrong buttons. Oh, yeah. You gotta watch out for that if you put them in the top tab. So, yeah, you can, if you're ever wondering what type of object you're needing to reference as a variable, you can go to film here. So I found my object here, film. You can see that it's a leveled sequence actor. So if I go back into here, rather than using a Boolean, I can search on here for, what was that called again? Level sequence actor. And you can see that reference is there. Yeah, so now, if I click and drag this in, get that reference, and then sorry, it's got a hair. There we go. If I search for play, you can see that these things now come up. You'll notice as well that, again, one thing to remember when you're messing with this editor, when you search for a certain what's the word? Search a certain keyword, you'll notice that even though you've searched for play, it won't always bring up the result that you want first. So you can see it's brought up reverse first here instead of play first. So do be kind of skeptical of what it's suggesting to you first, and make sure you pick the right thing rather than just pushing enter on the first thing you see. Okay, so so I've got this play sequence now. You can see it's created a little reference in between to kind of access the component of the object, and we've got this little play block here. So if we connect that across and we click compile, that all seems to work fine. So let's go to our game and let's click play. So if we come over to our button, nothing happens, which is strange. And now if we exit, you've got a bunch of errors. So for any of you that remember from the last tutorial we did, the thing that we need to do is we need to link the actual variable to the actual film block. Without doing that, it'll throw errors, because even though you've created a reference for something, you haven't directed it to said reference. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process. You can also see in here that when we look for our reference, when we're looking inside the button, it isn't visible. That's because we need to, inside of the block, we need to get our film reference and set it to visible. And remember to click compile for that. And now you can see that that reference can be found. If you use the eyedropper, you can. What's really nice with this eyedropper is that you can select only the specific objects that are related to this. So if I try to select the door or whatever, it'll be upset. So it won't let you do that. So click on film, and now that reference is linked. If I click play and come over to this, you can see now our cone emerges from the depths, which is great. And yeah, at the moment, you can see that after the animation finishes playing, it vanishes, which isn't very useful. There's a very simple way to fix this. Let's hop back out. If we go to the sequencer, and if I just click on here, if I right click in this space here, so in the actual timeline, on the specific track that I'm dealing with, if I click properties, you can see it has this option here. So it says when finished. And you can say either keep state, restore state, or project default. And I'm going to change it to keep state. And now you should see when we test this, the cone should retain its position. Great. So that's perfect. What you will notice still is that if you push the button again, it will restart the animation, which isn't great. Basically, the way that you would solve that is that you would set up a, you'd basically create a piece of logic that would, reverse the animation or trigger an end state. Yeah, you wouldn't let it continuously repeat like that. So if you want to kind of experiment with that in your own time, you're more than welcome to. I want to kind of focus on the other elements of the engine. So I want to focus on cameras. So let's see how we're doing for time. To be fair, we might have time to go over it. But let's get our camera function added next, because that's what I kind of want to prioritize at this point. So yeah, we've got our cinematic sequence linked up. We've got the button that responds and triggers the cinematic event and kind of retains the position of the button once it's occurred. I mean, I suppose I can show you real quick a very simple function that would, at the very least, stop it from repeating. So what you could do is you could create an animation function called, it could be a Boolean, and it could be called cone. Oh, so actually, let's call it film triggered. And you make a Boolean, and so you'd say when this overlap event occurs. So this would just set it to true, which isn't necessarily useful. What we'd also want would be a branch in front of it. So it would basically be if film triggered is true, sorry, it's false. We want to set it to true and then trigger the sequence. And then if someone tries to push the button again and it is true, nothing happens. Or alternatively, you actually we might be able to do this if we just give me a quick second. Hopefully this doesn't break anything. If we set this to false, sorry, reverse. Nope. Need the reference. The only catch with this system that we're building is that it might not. It might still allow people to push the button whilst the sequence is playing. But let's see if this works. I'm just curious. If not, well, I'll just disconnect it and we'll carry on. I don't want to waste your time whilst I figure this stuff out. So that rises up. We have got an extremely long animation, so we've got to wait till it finishes. And then push the trigger event. Oh, whoops. So that then goes back into the ground. And it looked there almost that, yeah, I can reverse the animation on the fly there, which is great. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with that little sequence there. Obviously, once we add the camera elements in there, it's going to be a little bit harder to change it without you know, having it. You're not going to be able to kind of jump on and off the button whilst the camera has been like occupied. As far as I know, at least anyway. I'm pretty sure that disables the player. Okay, so we've dealt with that. Feel free to kind of have a nosy through that in your own time. Yeah, I'll just give you a quick overview of the code there. I'll just arrange this in a way that looks a little bit nicer. What I will do is I'll just I'll comment that code because I'm pretty sure that is our script for that's all we need to do for our script at this point. So if I just kind of caption this, so it's on collision events with button ask whether ft is false. If false, make true. Play if ft true, make false, reverse. Yep. So again, with your projects, remember to keep your projects commented. Also remember to turn off that silly bubble thing, because otherwise it just clogs up the image, the page with those captions. So yeah, we can kind of move on from that now. We're going to create a little camera that's gonna behave in response to what's going on. So if we come to cinematic here, you can grab a cine camera actor, drag that in. You'll get a little preview of the viewport there, which is handy. So just going to position this and kind of rotate it in the space. And great. And yeah, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little track sequence. So I'm going to, first thing, just collapse these down just to make it less messy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's known as a camera cut track. So if I click on that, I'll get this view here, and nothing seems to show up initially. What you need to do is you need to add a camera to it. So if you click New Binding, you'll see that it lists the cameras that you've got available. I think mine is this one here, this camera. You can see I've got it selected, so it's Camera Cine Actor 1. And now you can get a little preview of the view in there, which is handy. If you want to be able to kind of view it at a larger fidelity, what you can do is you can click on this little drop down here, Cinematic Viewport, and it'll give you a preview of what the camera sees, which is pretty handy. Or at least it gives you the cinematic tools. If you want to specifically see what the camera sees, you can go into the actual placed camera option. So you can see that is working real nice there. So now, if we click play, also you might want to eject. Yeah, one thing you got to watch out for is make sure that when you run your game that you go back to the normal viewport and you're not occupying a camera when you click play, because otherwise that'll cause you problems. So if I hop into here, camera changes, and we've got that viewport off to the side. Yeah, so that's great. Now we're going to do something a little bit more experimental with it. Now that we've got the camera cutting to that new view. Well, actually, so I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm just curious to see if what it does for if it actually shows the camera for the reverse as well. If it does, I'll cut the moment it occurs. So nice. Okay, that's really cool. So we've got our camera transitioning between. What you can do as well, which is good to know, is that you can here we go. So you can like a real film, you can add different cameras. So if I wanted to add, I don't know, this camera actor 5. This bit's a bit janky, to be fair. You see, that's the only bit I don't quite understand how to adjust, is to change the order. That's really irritating. How do I move that around the other side? That do it? Oh well. Oh wow, that's weird. If I drag the timeline over. Uh-oh. Oof. So I think that causes it to like. I'm gonna stop messing with this now because I don't want to crash Unreal. So I'm gonna back up. But yeah, you can add your different camera sequences in here if you want to. Oh, I can't undo it any further. I'll just delete that. Yeah, you can add different camera viewports in if you want to have a bit more of a dynamic cinematic sequence. Yeah, you'll have to look into it. I can't be bothered going into it, but basically, I don't want to have a situation where I'm just troubleshooting stuff and you're just having to watch me troubleshoot. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find out very easily online how to change the order of the cameras being shown in the camera cut track. Anyway, so the thing that I want us to focus on is manipulating the camera. So if I select that, I can get rid of that other camera track we've got as well, because we're not going to use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this little drop down here, and it's going to allow us to access the properties of our object. So if I click transform and click the drop down here, like we did before, you can see that we can access all the same variables that we did in the cone. Except for this time, we're going to do something a little bit different. So we're going to hop into this drop down here. We're going to jump into the placed camera view. And you know how I mentioned before, can I actually? No, I can't. That's fine. You know, I mentioned before, don't press enter if you don't want to have all your keyframes activate at the same time. I'm actually going to intentionally make that happen this time. So if I press enter for our initial state, and then if I move to here, oh wait, nope, I did it in the wrong order. So if I move to there, and then in this view, so as the camera, so this is me occupying the camera's viewport here. Can you see that the gizmo wasn't initially visible there, and then when I stopped holding right click when I was moving, it moved to where I am. If I leave this camera now, oh I can't, okay, you can see that camera is now in a new location. So if I push enter now, you can see the track line is created, and this camera now moves. So we have that tasty animation. So if I quickly click play. Oh, and for anyone wondering why the cone was, let me just hop out here. So anyone wondering why the cone was visible when the sequence started, it's because the timeline was at the end rather than at the start. So just watch out for that. So if I come over here, cone rises up, and the camera pans around, which is great. It's very, very. I think I might tweak that image because it is obnoxiously slow. It's kind of the opposite problem I had last time. So I'm going to bring that to maybe the 2 second mark, or 2 whatever it is mark. I don't know what the measurement is. So you can kind of select these individual nodes and drag them to where you want them to be. So that should be a little bit more nippy as an animation now. You might need to adjust the curves, just a heads up. It might be a bit intense to look at. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So if I hop off this and push it again. So now that should... Ooh, that works really nice as animation. Sweet. So, yeah, that's great. The only other thing I just want to mention is, as part of this, sometimes when you're doing this method of moving the camera around, is this one? Yeah, I might be able to trigger it here. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to basically ruin my delicious cinematic I've got here, but it is what it is. So I'm going to move this to here. And then I'm going to have a third state, I don't know, somewhere like here. And if I move around to here, this might cause it to happen. Typical, it probably won't if I... Okay, so it doesn't show it. Okay, let me try... let me think. Oh, whoops. Nope. So if I come over here, this might work. Yes. Maybe? Yes. Yeah. So this has done it to a more subtle state, so you might not notice it. So can you see that, like, it's looking at the cone and then it turns all the way around this way to get to that rotation, rather than just turning right at this point. So the reason for that, if I open up the rotation section, is because when you start delving into, for the yaw, that's the important variable here. When you start delving into the yaw and having negative and positive angles, that starts to cause really irritating problems. So what you need to do to remedy that, all of the other positioning stuff should be fine. Hopefully this isn't too jarring for you all to look at. So find the state that you want it to end in. And then what you want to do is hover over this set of numbers, click, and then rotate manually to, oh my god, into the positive equivalent of what you're wanting to aim for, if that makes sense. So you see now, that's a lot better than what it was before, where it was like full-on turning. You can see that it now does the movement that I'm wanting it to do. So it's generally, as I said, it's worth checking whether the yaw has gone into the negative, or the inverse of that, it is in the negative and it moves into the positive. Yeah, hopefully that's clear. Yeah, it's just a matter of making sure it doesn't cross between positive and negative in that. And if it does, that it does so, it does the movement that you want to. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I want to cover. The only other thing that is mentioned in the module topic that I will quickly cover for the purposes of this is, give me a very quick second, because I just want to adjust this camera just a little bit. Is it pitch? Yeah, it is. So just adjust that down. So I'm going to make a little light come on once the... Also, it is worth noting that there is like a, beyond what you've got basically here. There is other properties that you can manipulate within your actor. So, if we come in here, camera component. There's all these variables that you can change in here. So you can alter things like color grading, post-processing effects. We'll be going into post-processing effects down the line, but there's all these things that you can change, and manipulate. And I would encourage you. This is in both Unity and in Unreal. Don't settle for the default camera shouldn't be just a standard that you just stick to. It shouldn't be just assumed as the default. It's quite a immature way to kind of approach producing a game, because realistically, it'd be, if you look at cinema, a lot of directors, have different camera setups for their movies. And the idea of using just the same camera setup for a horror film or versus a sci-fi film or a comedy, you're going to have very different camera setups. And in the same realm of games, you can mess with all of these variables. You can mess with the focal length, to create all sorts of unusual effects. Like if I as an example with this, if I just define the first keyframe, I think I just need to adjust it slightly. Okay, it's because I need to choose a specific thing. So the current focal length, let's work with that. So yeah, just note that you have to choose the actual specific track from there. So if I adjust the focal length, I can get a. Oh, whoops! Sorry, I was clicked before I am. Or could go the opposite way of zooming in on the specific object. So yeah, let's bring that back a bit, and click. Oh, whoops! Click back in here. Click enter, and then I'm actually going to bring this forwards a little bit to here, so you can see that. Whoops! Did I do that wrong? Oh yeah, it must have undone it. Okay. Yeah, set that to 15, and then bring it to there. There we go. Oh. Let's try one more time. Don't know why that keeps changing back. There we go. Okay. So for that one, it might be worth doing it from here, just because it seems to throw a bit of a cause a bit of a problem there. So yeah, like you can create all sorts of different camera effects. The camera allows you to do a lot of stuff. There was a horror game that I created, where there was a real subtle. I might actually have it on here, to be honest. I'll just hop out of this project. Remember to Control S to save everything. Probably should have said that earlier in the project. If I just quickly show you this real quick, because this was oh, there we go. I should have it still loaded on here. This is a bit of an aside, but we're basically done with this tutorial anyway. So if I launch the Unreal Engine, hopefully this should run. I've not worked on it in a while. So, yeah, basically, Office, where is it? Oh, I hope I have it. Office Cleaner, here we go. Open a copy. So this was like, for the last time that I ran module, this was me giving like a demo of like of a nice experience, and it's Halloween when I'm recording this, so this seems quite apt. Uh, so yeah, basically it was a horror game where you were an office cleaner who came in to do their shift at night, and it turned out that during the office day or the evening, some murderer had come in and killed all of the staff. So you've basically got to almost be complicit with the murderer in you've still got to do your job whilst this murderer stalks the hall and can kill you. So once this is loaded, you'll see that I had like lots of different nice little elements in there. So I had a spray bottle that could shoot liquid to clean things with. And specifically in relation to what I was talking about before, I added, I think it was 2 camera effects. So the first one is a real subtle effect applied to the character in the lift, where the field of view just kind of scopes inwards, kind of pulls in real slow whilst you're in this confined space, which makes you feel really claustrophobic. And yeah, it just adds like a whole other level of atmosphere to the project. I just hope this hurries up soon so we can actually see this and it works okay. Unfortunately, when I actually play tested this for real, because I'd added, when I mentioned in the previous tutorial about materials, I basically caused myself a bunch of problems because what was the issue? Basically, I used too many emissive lights for the bulbs in the game, and it basically just completely ground the project to a halt. But it should run okay in Unreal. So if we just let that load. Hopefully the audio shouldn't be too loud either. I don't know if I've got it active. Let me quickly check. Desktop audio. Ooh, that's a big lag. Hope this doesn't crash. I would be very, very sad if I lost this now. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna open the project. Oh Lord, that is very laggy. Oh no. Oof. Okay, I might I might cut this just so I can save the actual oh, maybe. I'm very tempted to just cut this here. I really did want to show you this, but I don't want to risk losing like 50 minutes of tutorial because this seems to have stopped. Oh wait, it's loaded. Okay, there we go. We are technically in. This is like a horror game in itself. I don't want the video to die or my computer. So it's just compiling the shaders. So and the thing that was actually quite nice about this project is that like it was just kind of to show that you could do a lot with a very, very compact space. So literally this was roughly about the same size as of what you're working with. But because I'd created like a wider environment, that you're in like a tower block and you had like skyscrapers around you, that I'd populated the space to kind of make it interesting in terms of maneuvering around. So you can see you've got this nice little kind of gameplay space to work with. You've got a view out over the skyscrapers either side. Some nice lighting in here. As I said, this lighting killed the game for most of the people, but if I just maximize this a little bit, hopefully you're all still with me. Yeah. So I had some UI in as well at the beginning. So if I hop in here, fingers crossed this doesn't crash now. Oh wait, I've got to click the button. There we go. So you can see that the camera's kind of pulling in here. You've got like the field of view effect kicking in. And as I said, it's a little bit slow because of the lighting that occurs. So I've got to like nip around whilst this I didn't have a much better model, but whilst this monster runs around and will kill me if it sees me. Just whilst I clean up stuff. Didn't think I'd be doing spooky Let's Plays today. So basically what you had to do in this game is you've got these blood splatters around the office. If this was like expanded into a full-blown game, which I would like to do at some point, is, you know, you'd have to, like, if you've played, I think it's oh god, I think it's called like Battleship Cleanup Simulator or like Spaceship Cleanup Simulator. You'd have to like dispose of bodies and kind of put bodies in cupboards and you know, destroy all evidence of you know, the place being messy. You know, and clean up blood and hide weapons and stuff without being spotted by the murderer. Just because... Oh, Lord. Oh, it's still being chased. I think I'm okay. Okay, they're there. I think... I'm just about... Oh, God, please don't get me. So they can't actually... This AI is pretty silly. You know, it doesn't recognize me through the glass. I think... Oh, I've got 5 areas left to clean. Come on. Okay, there's one. There's one. Oh, this desk's very dirty. Hopefully this is it. Get to the lift. Okay. Go, 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 go. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Go away. Yeah, so that's like the little demo that I built. But you can see in that, if I let myself actually get killed in the game, there was just like a real short cinematic experience. But yeah, there's a lot that you can do with very little. I just really, really like this intro bit with the camera just kind of panning into the start. And the audio too is creepy as hell. But if I let myself die as well, you get like this death effect that applies to the screen and then the lights all go out. Yeah, so I would really encourage you to take advantage of cinematic effects. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do with very, very little. Similar with lighting as well. Like you can completely, you can create a tremendous amount of atmosphere for a game in just adding some decent lighting. Yeah, makes a huge difference. As I said, just don't make sure to play test your projects outside of the engine because they may struggle depending on what kind of post-processing or lighting you apply. Cool. So that's all I wanted to cover. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what you do with your cameras and lighting and all that other stuff. Happy Halloween.